Okay, next story. Hundreds of Filipinos have held a protest rally against a recent treaty that gives U.S. forces greater military access to bases across the country. The demonstration was staged outside the U.S. Embassy in the capital Manila on Thursday, the country's Independence Day, but police forces prevented protesters from approaching the building. The treaty, which is known as the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, will allow U.S. troops to use Philippine military bases for the next 10 years. Meanwhile, thousands of protesters marched to the Chinese consulate in Manila to denounce what they called China's incursions in the South China Sea. The protest was organized to claim the country's sovereignty over what Manila refers to as the West Philippine Sea. Okay, and this is all just a label of globalism. A lot of other people are okay, next story. Armenia ready to join Russia customs union by mid-April 2015, mid-April 2015. That's pretty big news. Russia coming back as a super, well, it's always been a superpower, but getting itself back into unions and adhering back to itself. Next story. As ISIS members say they want to sack the holy city, Riyadh calls in military assistance from its close allies to shore up the porous 500-mile border. Pro-ISIS graffiti begins to appear around the kingdom while residents in parts of Riyadh woke in June to find jihadist leaflets on their car windscreens. Saudi Arabia has deployed thousands of troops from Egypt and Pakistan along its frontier with Iraq amid fears of invasion by the al-Qaeda splinter group that has declared a radical Islamic state across that border. Okay, so Saudi Arabia is having problems with ISIS as well. Saudi Arabia is a horrible country. I just hearing about earlier today that they're trying to get a man to be whipped 50 times every 2 weeks for the next some amount of months. It's basically 1,000 lashes because he said something blasphemous against Muhammad. I don't know if he did or not. So that's Islam for you. And people, you can get into Islam and try to say, it's a peaceful religion and whatnot. But let's look at the fruit. The nations that are full-decked Islamic, they all bow the knee to Muhammad, or Allah, whatever you want to call it. They're all horrible nightmare places where women that get raped, they get killed because they killed a murderer. That happened a few months ago. A 21, 22-year-old was hung because she killed the guy that tried to rape her. And it's just garbage. I'm not going to accept it. It's ridiculous garbage, and it's the fruit of it is it's just horrible. It's so anyways, so Saudi Arabia's fearing this other Islamic group, and well, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I thought that was interesting that they're not able to control. Well, their own brothers in religion are still radical enough to go after, and that could be CIA as well. It could be total CIA invading Saudi Arabia on the grounds of ISIS, using that as a cover group. I don't know why they would, because the Bushes and the Saudis, the guys Saud, are supposedly really close. Next story, efforts to bring natural Ebola treatments to suffering West Africans have been squelched by the World Health, I'm sure it's part of the World Health Organization. Where am I? I've lost myself. Where is this? By the World Health Organization, which recently blocked multiple shipments of nano-silver solution measuring at 10 parts per million from entering the region, leaving thousands to suffer needlessly. So somebody actually heard the guy that was actually doing this on the radio, underground radio. They're trying to bring some kind of possible treatments to people in West Africa, and the World Health Organization again, the globalist organization, a group of people who think they have authority over the whole world, blocked the multiple shipments of nanosilver. I've heard nanosilver is not very good silver to use, but I'm not an expert on that at all. That's an example of despotism where one World Health Organization is probably out of New York or Belgium, maybe Switzerland. You know, they're like, no, we don't want them to have this possible treatment. You know, we don't want it. And that's just so wicked for people to deny someone who's dying some kind of form. It might have worked, it might not have worked. Who cares? Why block it? Man, that's going to be a tough one to answer for. That one, somebody, when Jesus Christ asks you, you know, how did you possibly even think that this was the right thing to do? He probably wouldn't even ask him that. I'll probably just, okay. So next story is Reyhanli, Turkey. The cost of turning against the Islamic State was made brutally apparent in the streets of a dusty backwater town in eastern Syria in early August. Over a 3-day period, vengeful fighters shelled, beheaded, and crucified and shot hundreds of members of the Shaitat tribe after they dared to rise up against the extremists. By the time the killing stopped, 700 people were dead. Activists and survivors say, making this the bloodiest single atrocity committed by the Islamic State in Syria since it's declared its existence 18 months ago. This happened in Reyhanli, and I haven't even heard of this place. It's not on the mass line media. And the worst killing was 700 people in one day. The little publicized story of this failed tribal revolt in Abu Hammam in Syria's eastern Deir al-Zur province illuminates the challenges that will confront efforts to persuade those living under Islamic State rule in Iraq as well as Syria to join the fight against the jihadist group, something U.S. officials say is essential to the campaign. News of the massacre coincided with President Obama's decision to order airstrikes to turn back an Islamic State advance unfolding farther east in Iraq toward the Kurdish regional capital of Erbil, as well as humanitarian airdrops to help desperate Iraqi Yazidis trapped on a mountain on the onslaught. Many Assyrians in the opposition are starting to complain about unequal treatment. U.S. warplanes have carried out more airstrikes on Islamic State forces besieging the Kurdish town of Koban on Syria's border with Turkey than any other single airstrike location in Iraq or Syria. And Washington announced Sunday that the U.S. planes had airdropped weapons and medical supplies to the beleaguered Kurdish fighters there. Okay, I shouldn't even read that last part. So that's kind of what's going on over there as far as how the other people are putting up with ISIS. And that's the last story of this whole series here for 2014. Okay, if you watched it the whole way through, I'm really amazed. I just don't expect. I think there's going to be maybe one or two of you out there that'll actually do it. Don't know what else to say. Thanks for listening. I pray that some of the news things that I've said, opened your eyes more to understand reality. If even some of the stuff may be fake, a lot of it, of course, most of it, almost all of it is negative, but it's a lot of negative stuff going on. I don't have any final last words of wisdom to sum all this up, but yeah, do the same thing. Don't just hear a report and say, oh, okay. It's easiest when it's on the internet because you can find people who are you find people that are reporting stuff, and the Power Hour, thepowerhour.com is a good place, and get onto their email subscription, get a lot of news coverage. Find people who are already InfoWars. Try to find a whole bunch of different groups of independent people that are doing their news deals, and don't make yourself do a whole hour of it or whatever. Just do whatever. Well, I don't even know, but okay.